True Home Alone scary stories. The intruder in the attic. Late one night, I was home alone, reading in bed. Suddenly, I heard faint footsteps above me coming from the attic. My heart raced as I knew I hadn't been up there in months. I grabbed a baseball bat and slowly climbed the stairs to investigate. As I reached the attic door, the footsteps stopped. Trembling with fear, I pushed the door open and scanned the dim space with my flashlight. There, in the corner, I saw a figure crouching. Without hesitation, I swung the bat and screamed, only to find an intruder who had been living in my attic, undetected for weeks, staring back at me. As I stood there, frozen in shock, the intruder slowly raised their hands in surrender. They were a disheveled and desperate-looking individual, pleading for me not to call the police. Confused and frightened, I demanded an explanation for their presence in my attic. The intruder began to reveal their story, explaining that they had lost their job and had nowhere to go. Desperate for shelter, they had broken into my house and discovered the attic was rarely used. They assured me they meant no harm, claiming they had been careful not to disturb anything or attract attention. They had survived by sneaking down at night to grab food from the kitchen and then quickly retreating to the attic before dawn. As they spoke, I noticed their eyes filled with a mix of fear and gratitude. Despite my initial anger and fear, a sense of empathy washed over me. I knew I had to decide to call the police or offer help to this desperate soul. I took a deep breath and asked them to wait while I considered my options. In that tense moment, I thought about the risks of letting a stranger in my home and the potential consequences of involving the authorities. My mind also wrestled with the notion of compassion and second chances. Ultimately, I decided to take a leap of faith. I offered the intruders some food and water and explained that they could stay the night. However, I made it clear that it was a one-time opportunity and they needed to leave by morning. Over the course of that night, I learned more about their struggles and challenges. They had faced setbacks and hardships that had led them to this desperate act. As dawn approached, I woke them up and insisted they leave the house immediately. Though I never saw them again, that night left a lasting impact on me. It taught me about the complexities of human desperation and the thin line between victim and perpetrator. I couldn't forget the terror of discovering an intruder in my home, but I also couldn't ignore the lesson of compassion and the reminder of our shared vulnerability as humans. From that moment on, I tried to be more empathetic and understanding, recognizing that sometimes people make desperate choices out of sheer desperation. It was a chilling reminder that our lives can intersect with others in the most unexpected and terrifying ways, prompting us to question our instincts and what it truly means to show compassion to those in need. The mysterious break-in. While alone at home, I heard a loud crash downstairs. Fearful but determined, I grabbed a kitchen knife and slowly descended to investigate. To my horror, I found shattered glass near the back door and signs of forced entry. I panicked, knowing an intruder had broken in. Without hesitation, I rushed back upstairs, locked myself in the bedroom, and dialed the police. As I waited for help, I heard footsteps and rustling sounds on the first floor. As I waited in the locked bedroom, my heart pounded in my chest, and every creak and noise sent shivers down my spine. The minutes felt like hours as I anxiously listened for any sign of the intruder's approach. The police had assured me that they were on their way, but it felt like an eternity before I heard sirens approaching. With a sense of relief, I heard officers entering my home. They shouted out to identify themselves, and I responded, guiding them to the bedroom where I was hiding. The police searched the house, and soon they discovered the intruder hiding in a closet on the first floor. The intruder was a young man, disheveled and wild-eyed. He seemed to be under the influence of drugs. He had been watching my house, waiting for the right moment to break in and steal valuables. The shattered glass near the back door was a chilling reminder of his determination to gain entry. The police apprehended the intruder and arrested him on the charges of burglary and trespassing. They reassured me that he wouldn't pose a threat to me anymore. Despite their assurances, the feeling of violation lingered long after the incident. In the days that followed, I took extra precautions to secure my home, installing a security system and reinforcing the doors and windows. The once peaceful sanctuary had turned into a place of unease and vulnerability. The incident left a lasting impact on me, affecting my sense of security and trust in the safety of my home. I struggled with feelings of anxiety and hypervigilance, always on edge, imagining footsteps and rustling sounds that weren't there. I sought support from friends and family, talking through the trauma with them and seeking professional counseling to help me cope with the aftermath of the break-in. Over time, I began to heal, but the experience changed me profoundly. Though the memory of that terrifying night still haunted me, I learned to face my fears and channel my anxiety into taking action to protect myself and my home. The break-in had shattered my sense of security, but it also taught me the strength that can be found in confronting and overcoming our darkest moments. The haunting apparition. One evening, while alone in my house, I saw a shadowy figure pass by the hallway outside my room. Startled, I assumed it was a family member returning home early. However, upon checking, I found no one there. I tried to brush it off as a trick of the light, but throughout the night I heard inexplicable sounds and witnessed objects moving on their own. Frightened, I set up a camera to capture any strange occurrences. The next day, when I reviewed the footage, I saw a translucent figure, unmistakably a ghostly apparition, roaming the halls of my home. The realization that I might be sharing my home with a ghostly presence filled me with both fear and intrigue. I had always been skeptical of the supernatural, but the unexplained events of that night left me with an unsettling sense that something otherworldly was indeed afoot. As the days passed, the strange occurrences continued. Doors would open and close on their own, lights flickered without reason, and chilling drafts swept through empty rooms. Every night I would hear faint whispers echoing in the darkness, and sometimes an inexplicable feeling of being watched would wash over me. Feeling desperate for answers, I reached out to a paranormal investigator, hoping they could shed light on the haunting. They arrived with their equipment, and we spent hours searching for evidence on the ghostly presence. Strange electromagnetic readings and unexplained temperature fluctuations raised further questions. To communicate with the entity, the investigator conducted an EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, session. As we listened to the playback, we were startled to hear faint voices responding to our question, though we couldn't make out the words clearly. As the days turned into weeks, the apparition's activity intensified. Books flew off shelves, eerie messages appeared on mirrors, and the air grew thick with a sense of unease. Sleep became elusive as the presence seemed to be most active during the night, disrupting any attempt at rest. Feeling overwhelmed and desperate for resolution, I sought help from a spiritual medium. The medium conducted a cleansing ritual, attempting to guide the ghostly presence to move on peacefully. They believed the spirit was trapped, unable to cross over to the other side. After the cleansing, the atmosphere in the house gradually shifted. The whispers and unsettling sounds subsided, and the apparition's appearances became less frequent. It seemed that the spiritual intervention had brought some measure of peace to the haunted home. Though the paranormal occurrences eventually ceased entirely, the experience left a lasting impression on me. I realized that the boundary between the known and the unknown can sometimes blur, leading to encounters that challenge our understanding of reality. To this day, I remain cautious about dismissing paranormal encounters outright. The haunting taught me that there may be more to this world than what we can see, and it serves as a reminder to approach the unexplained with both curiosity and respect. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel to hear more creepy, scary horror stories every week.